Welcome into Mac and Mose. Andy McNamara, joined as always by the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, Rob Moseley. We are here to wrap up the Civil War, 2017 Civil War, 121st meeting, also the 2017 regular season. The Oregon Ducks finished this campaign 7-5, and they finish it really on a really high note with a couple of convincing victories in Pac-12 play against Arizona and then Oregon State. Oregon State overmatched in this game, winless coming in conference play. Their only victory was against Portland State early in the season, a game that they probably should have lost if you watched that game. So not the strongest Beaver team, but the way that the Ducks were able to execute in this one, the way that their defense just came out and sort of set the tone. I know that the score was very lopsided, 69-10, and you think touchdowns and offense, and there was plenty of that. But really, the defensive effort the last couple weeks has set the tone for this team, and it carried over into the Civil War.
Yeah, Coach Taggart has talked about how the whole team, not just the offense, has been energized by Justin Herbert's return. And you saw that. You saw some performances at midseason where the defense started well, and then kind of when it seemed inevitable, mid-third quarter, fourth quarter, that the offense wasn't going to score enough to keep up with the opposition, defense kind of lagged a little bit, and some scores got a little more one-sided than they should have been. But and so I think they were fired up to show who they really were, just like the offense has been fired up the last couple weeks to show who they really were. This defense was too, that when they have an offense that complements them and can put points on the board, they can be really good. So you look at the job they did against Khalil Tate in Arizona a couple weeks ago, beating those guys by 20 points, allowing 28, but winning by 20 points, and then just completely shutting down an Oregon State offense that they should be able to shut down, focusing their efforts on Ryan Null and shutting him down as well. Really inspired. So it's just, Oregon State ran into a perfect storm. You had an Oregon team that was ticked off about losing the year before, energized to show kind of who this team really should have been all year, given Herbert's return, and then really ticked off again by some comments coming out of Corvallis last week.
We joked about it after the game, though. Clearly, the team isn't watching Mac and Mose because we made the same comments. It was obvious to everybody as soon as the rain came. Oregon folded. They packed tent and they were out of there.
But Henry Mondu said after the game, and he was mystified. I don't know why a head coach would say that. But it was common sense. What Corey Hall said was right, was accurate. But taking the Nike coats, the raincoats, and making them into this like totem that Oregon could kind of rally around was just we've talked at times this year. Hey, Willie Taggart's a young head coach. Maybe there's there's things he might do different 20 years down the road in his career. I would say that was a learning moment for Corey Hall. There's a reason coaches use coach speak, and as frustrating it is sometimes, you keep yourself out of trouble. And I'm sure he would do that different if he had to do it over again.
Yeah, even if it was sort of manufactured intensity or focus from that resulted with Oregon being able to glom onto that. It's like you say, it's just something you don't want out there. The Ducks could be in a little bit of danger after the game with some of the stuff that they said that could be used against them next year. So but it's all part of the rivalry, I think, and that's what makes even a game where you have two teams kind of going in opposite directions. It's still compelling, even though it was a blowout. It's there's storylines there. But let's get to the game a little bit. Justin Herbert in this one, to me, the way that this game went with the first half and early in the second half, it reminded me of some of the non-conference games that Marcus Mariota used to play, where he's out of the game midway through the third quarter if he's not out at halftime. Herbert was so efficient in this one. He had 10 incompletions, but a few of those were just flat-out drops by his receivers.
He was throwing the ball hard all night.
He was just, and we talked about it last week, how coming back after the injury against Arizona early in the game, he was kind of short-arming balls and just wasn't getting it there. Well, that was not the case in this game. He almost broke Cam McCormick's sternum, I think, on one play, and then he hits Jalen Redd a couple times. One time, Redd bobbled it and made the catch, but he probably should have just caught it in stride and gone in for a touchdown. But he's putting it on guys, and it was great to see him really enjoying himself out there.
Yeah, given his efficiency rating, if he qualified for the NCAA leaders, which he won't do all the time is due to injury, he'd be a top 5 passer in the country.
So that's top in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and it just numbers to back up what our eyes see. Yeah, I mean, he had 10 incompletions against the Beavers. At least 3 of them, like we're talking about, are just fastballs that guys couldn't handle. And balls too, where he could, if he'd taken a little bit off, that might have helped the defense. They might not have got there. So he did what he had to do. He gave only his guy a shot, and sometimes guys catch him, sometimes they don't. He had at least 2 more that I can think of that he intentionally threw away out of bounds. So just really operating at peak efficiency. You saw the running game again for the second week in a row benefit from that, with both Royce Freeman and Kenai Benoit going for 122 yards. But just a special player to watch, and you can see it among Oregon's alumni, among some of the national reporters on Twitter as the game was progressing. Eyes are starting to open to Justin Herbert, and I do think there's going to be some Heisman buzz for him coming out of this season, going into next year, based on the last couple games.
Yeah, certainly statistically, when you look at Oregon's numbers across the board when he plays, 6-1 as a starter, and he's a big play quarterback as well. He was able to rush for a touchdown in this game. He only ran it twice. The O-line kept him clean, and some of that is Herbert's ability to just feel pressure in the pocket and move his feet and get rid of the ball, as you said. Later in the game, the Beavers did get a sack on Burmeister, where he was just a little bit confused back there and kind of just ran himself into a lost yardage situation. But
only sack of the game, strangely.
Yeah. But Herbert, I think that people will see his numbers even in an abbreviated season, assuming that he puts up some solid statistics in the bowl game. Efficiency-wise, this is going to be a big season for him, and his touchdown to interception ratio, his completion percentage. I mean, all the stuff is there. And then when you watch him play, it's been really a joy to see when he's out there operating at 100%. Running game, Royce Freeman's last game in Autzen Stadium, 122 yards. Kind of a workmanlike effort by Royce, but took what was there, was able to move the chains early and really give Oregon that balanced attack. And then Kenai Benoit, who had been hampered a little bit from injury, comes back, and he looked completely fresh out there. And typical, he got a couple runs early, late in the second half, where you're like, he's going to break one here anytime, and sure enough, he does. And great way for those 2 guys to kind of go out as well.
That's the thing, for Royce, it was just what we're used to seeing. But for Kenai, he's only had 2-3 of those in his career, and so to be able to put together a game like that in his last home game at Autzen Stadium. I mean, there was a lot of seniors. Tyrell Crosby, I think, was watching him play his last game. Henry Mondu, I think the 52nd appearance of his career. He's going to make it 53 in the bowl game. Which is just phenomenal. Never to have missed a game. It's not because he never got hurt. I mean, he plays through some stuff. He's just tough. War Daddy, as Coach Taggart likes to say. But it was cool to see some seniors step up and have some nice moments in their last home game. Can I definitely be in one of them?
Defensively in this one, the Ducks able to create some turnovers. Justin Hollins gets a pick 6. First pick 6 for Oregon since 2015. Tyree Robinson in a non-conference game early in the season ran one back for a touchdown. So Hollins gets his mitts on one. It was set up by Jalen Jelks, who had another incredible game. Maybe not splashy on the stat sheet, but just changed things that forced Oregon State to do stuff they didn't want to do. And in that case, he bats the ball up in the air. Hollins intercepts it, runs it in for the touchdown. Thomas Graham an interception in this one, also on a fumble recovery. And so Oregon ends up ending the regular season +1 in turnover margin, which was really kind of an issue for them all year. They were unable to really win that battle consistently week in and week out. So they finished the season strong in that area.
Cool moment from practice last Sunday. Sort of a coincidence, happenstance, but it worked out. Coach Taggart was talking to the team following the Arizona game, and he was talking about how happy he was with the takeaways in that game. There were a couple of big takeaways in that Arizona game, and he told the team, I asked you to get me 2, and you got me 2. You know what that means? Now you got to get me 3 in the Civil War. Sure enough, Ducks go get 3 takeaways in the Civil War. So it worked out. Coach called his shot on that one, and that was good to see. But yeah, I mean, this Oregon defense, if you look at the games, again, just the one started by Justin Herbert and the energy they've taken from statistically, that's a top 20, top 15 defense maybe. And And again, missing Luke Falk, missing Rosen, missing those guys. But to think what this team could have been, I mean, it's such a tease these last couple games to think what this team could have been had Herbert not been hurt. We knew going in how important he was, and if he was injured, what it would mean for this team, how much it would hurt, and it did. But it also gives you an appreciation for how good he is and what this team could have been too. And it's going to be an interesting bowl matchup for whoever the Ducks go up against, because you're going against the 6th or 7th choice from the Big 12. Ducks being the 7th choice from the Pac-12, but they sure don't look like a 7th place team right now. So I think it'd be a really compelling bowl game on the horizon.
Yeah, 4-5 was Oregon's final conference record, and obviously a big chunk of that conference schedule was without Justin Herbert. And as important as he is, it does point out that there's some flaws to this team as well. Without him, how much different they were than they are with him. But I think that's something that the team can learn from, the coaches can learn from, and going into next year, you have to have a little bit better contingency plan if you lose a guy like that to be able to compete in the conference, because this was an interesting year in the Pac-12. There really wasn't that dominant team that we've seen over the course of the years, and unfortunately, it probably was a year where you're going to end up with a champion that you might not have thought was in the mix. And I think Oregon really realistically would have been in the mix had Justin Herbert been able to play. But you do bring up a good point. He missed Bryce Love. He missed Josh Rosen, some of the better Luke Falk. I know that Washington State ended up losing the following week, but that's certainly not a gimme if Herbert's healthy that they win that game. So it's probably the Pac-12 hurts themselves a little bit with the parity nationally, and because you get these teams beating up on each other.
No, it's gonna cost us a second spot in the New Year's Six bowls probably. I mean, every other in Power 5 league will get 2, sometimes 3 teams. Pac-12 might get 1 in the New Year's Six. If only we had some representation on the playoff committee who could advocate. Rob Mullins obviously sits on the committee, and that's it. It's the parity. I mean, then just the numbers don't speak well to this league right now the way they do about the Big Ten probably getting 3 teams in, or the SEC obviously getting 3 teams in. So that's kind of the price you're paying. But among the what ifs, we talk about what if this team had Herbert all year. Now we look back and say, okay, Braxton Burmeister probably needed a redshirt year. What if Taylor Alley hadn't also been injured in the Cal game? What if he'd been healthy and ready to go the next week and had been able to quarterback Oregon through that stretch of games? Or what if this scout team sensation Dimitri Birch, who kind of emerged that Arizona week, what if kind of there'd been a different sense of who he was and what he could be? Maybe he'd have been a guy who could have complemented Alley or Burmeister through that stretch too. Hindsight is 20/20, so you can't go back and change that. And I don't think there was anything at the time that indicated he was going to be who he was going to be. But there's a lot of things you look back and say it could have gone different. But as it was, when you finish on the note Oregon finished on, I think everybody feels pretty good about where they're at right now, going into the bowl game and then going into the next season as well.
Good to see Taylor Alley get a chance to finish out his senior year as well. He's been here since the turn of the century, it seems like. But fifth-year senior Taylor Alley from Eugene. All touchdown drives in the game were orchestrated by Sheldon High School quarterbacks. So he came in and led that last touchdown drive for the Ducks, so that was good to see as well. 69-10 was the final in this one, the Civil War. The Ducks will await now sort of the formal announcement of the bowl game. It looks like practice will probably start later this week, possibly Friday, in preparation for that. And then there'll be a press conference as well to announce the bowl game, and Coach Taggart will comment on that. And like you said, it's going to be really interesting to see who this team gets matched up against.
Yeah, I've seen projections a lot recently with West Virginia, which you'd figure, really entertaining game. We always look back at some of those really entertaining Pac-12, Big 12 matchups in the Holiday Bowl.
Oklahoma State, Oregon was
absolutely. Maybe this could be another one of those where it's a high scoring, it's a shootout, it's back and forth, and obviously Jim Leavitt would like it not to be high scoring, but and a lot of drama. good quality television, which is what most of these bowl games want. So, but if it is the Cactus Bowl and a chance to go to Arizona in December, that's fun too. I know some people are holding that hope for the Las Vegas Bowl, which I think would either take a second New Year's Six team, which does not look likely, or some sort of trading behind the scenes among the bowls, which again is within the rules, but doesn't happen very often, and there'd have to be a lot of extenuating circumstances. Kind of hard to imagine. That would put either Arizona or Arizona State in Arizona. That doesn't sell a whole lot of hotel rooms. I don't think that's a great matchup for those guys. They'd probably prefer to go to Vegas too. So can hold out hope, but realistically, Cactus Bowl looks like
Oregon Boise State in Vegas would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be must-see TV. But I would say the Arizona game, that all the national results that weekend 2 weeks ago took it from about an 80 to a 90% chance that it was going to be the Cactus Bowl, and this past week it went from about 90 to 99 that it was going to be the Cactus Bowl. So await that formal announcement next weekend, though.
Rob and I will be back with you later in the week once things get rolling for bowl prep. Until then, if you have anything for us, you can get to us on Twitter. I'm at McNamara UO. He is at Duck Football. Until next time, we'll see you.